contacted us, and they had a lot of knowledge about vegetation. So also a lot of people coming to us and they are so recognizable icons, these colors, and I think it's very important to really bring that again back in our environment. Because we're a team with 8 people, so it grew the last years. But I have more like a coordinating role that everybody is doing a specific commission. But since we have won a lot of trust by architects, my work has changed. First we did really more like applied art. We did at the Lincoln Center, I don't know if you saw it in New York, the first wall was more like an application, and then when they had a lot of confidence, then they said, okay, the second wall, like an autonomous piece. So my work has changed more and more into like free art. So in that case, it means that for production, I'm the only person who can make the pieces. So it's like we make when you make a movie, everybody has this role. So the assistants, they provide me for the yarns and the materials, etc. But it's like I'm making them personally, because it's my autograph. So that is a really big change last year. So I'm more and more into really in the physical field, and also managing of course the team. But it has changed. The work has changed. Since we have been doing more and more art pieces, architectural art pieces in spaces, public spaces. It's really my signature what is important, and that means that I have to make them. And before, like the last 10 years, we did wall coverings. There were like structures, and then we could make them with 5-6 people, and everybody was working on them. But now, finding also a balance in that and keeping the vision very clear, what we want to achieve is another thing. So more physical work, but also we have really like a path we want to walk. And we were at the United Nations this year. For us, it was really like a milestone. And we were recognized as a symbol for sustainability, and that is really something we want to keep it very clear. And since we have the fields now, and next year we're going to keep a large-scale bees, we're going to do that also on the fields. The business is changing also in what it's doing, not only making art pieces, but also having a botanical garden, having fields, having a beekeeping housing. It's growing also on a different layer. For specific spaces, when we got commissions, it is really needed first to work with the people. We did an installation for a psychiatrical institution, so then we go there and work first with the patients, doing workshops, or because I think it's very important making a work for a space which it's not a work. It's not about me. It's about making a work for these people living there, and how does that interact? For me, it's very important then to know, to get some kind of clarity about the state of mind of these. In that case, psychiatric people, but also we're going to do a workshop in Sicily, in a prison there. We are going to work there at the end of the year, with 1 week with only a men's group, because there is something about the material. It reaches people on a different level, and we have experienced it with psychiatric people, but also people who have cancer. Or there is something about it. People say it opens up layers, and when we make specific work for these spaces, it's really needed first to work with the people. When we do for hospitals, also we need to know. who is living there. And you cannot. I feel it not that it doesn't feel right that I make the work only by designing it from here, because there's too much distance. Yeah, it's needed really being there and experiencing the atmosphere. In the Netherlands, there were only two people, I think, who knew about vegetable dyeing, and nobody knew about this scale we work. So it's a lot of experience and just doing it, but also working with technical institutions like TNO, or talking to a lot of people from restoration, what they know already about degeneration about specific dye stuffs. So a lot of it's a lot of research because the heritage. It's very difficult to get to the knowledge also, because it's very sometimes people are very close about what they discovered, or and it's all about economics. People stopped making plant colors because it was too expensive. So like the last decades, maybe 3 people knew how to make it in a very small scale. But for us, it's very important also to show to the world. And our recipes are will be on the internet in a year or two, because it's not for us. It's for everybody to do. And but it's a lot of research. Yes, also about vegetation, about the fields, because. We used to have that in the world. In Netherlands, it were like these are all indigenous plants, but in Holland, you see the landscape. It's one green field, and the farmers don't even know how to grow them. So it's a big challenge. We work a lot with technical engineers. They also come here to work, and they assist Annette with dyeing, and a lot of them is already known research. And then, but because the scale is so large, we work on it changes the composition also in the process. So a lot of it's a combination of already known technology, and also a lot of is really working in the field and combining that together. It's very, very complicated, this vegetable dyeing, because it has to do with so many. It has to do with temperature and length and the preparations before, and it's really. And you have a recipe, you think, okay, I'm going to copy it the next day, but it has to do with the harvest. That was also the reason why we started our own fields this last year, because the people we buy it from, they like shop in the world and they gather it, but it's very important. The ground where it's been grown or when it's been harvested, it has a lot of input on the color. So now we have done a first year now with vegetable dye plants, and we've been experimenting with it also, because for us it's also like, I don't know. And this year we've been increasing also the farmers. We have now more. Also for us, it's also it takes a lot of time in researching. We had there was somebody here who worked for 6 months only on St. John's Wort, and she got like 300-400 colors. 6 months. You could work on one color your life. It's how to choose, and you can also putting different layers over them. You can make an indigo bath over this, and you get also or madder. Then you get it more orange. It's like. It's amazing. It's so exciting making it, because it's an oxidation process. So when you have the wool or the silk in the pans and you take it out, and when air is coming to it, then it gets blue. You see it. Yeah. It really it's like magic. It's unbelievable. But only it seems that only 1% only in the world still people know how to make traditional indigo. So how rapidly this disappears, and but the color is magic. We did a commission now for Bennington College in Vermont. We did a triptych of wall tapestries, and also only in indigo, and it's something about that color. Yeah. And knotted, it's an 18th century knotting technique from France. Doing a lot of research also in this old laces and how to redo them. We did it in the library Amsterdam. We used that knotting technique, but really blew it up, very large scale, very big knotting. I like to keep it very local because there is so much already here which is tradition and not seen or disappeared. And yes, we prefer also in the working with only plants which belong here, and yeah, specific colors which come from the region, and or now in a more wider spectrum, the Van Gogh yellow, and really the Dutch 17th century painters, yeah, like Rembrandt and Vermeer, the colors they use, because it's really Dutch. Yeah, it's very Dutch heritage, and they were very strong in what they did. So and they are so recognizable icons, these colors, and I think it's very important to really bring that again back in our environment, in our in spaces. It was like a double commission. First, you get into the library, and then you have this wall everybody can touch. That was also going to the public restrooms. So they asked us really to make a very strong felt, which has a lot of texture, because they want people really to be invited and touching it, but very, very strong material. And what is very interesting is that we have been doing public spaces, I think, for 15 years now, and there is not one work which has been demolished ever. So instead of people thinking that it's very sensitive and it's very vulnerable and etc., people have a deep respect. So I believe really that if you put beauty into spaces, people respect it, and it does not need to be Hufter proof. They said to us, you make it really strong so that you cannot make it that people cutting it, but people do not do that. So it's very interesting also for us, because you can make the most delicate pieces in public spaces. People have a really deep respect, and of course people should touch it because it's so inviting. And the wall behind the desk is, yeah, we got to this 18th century knotting technique because the architect built this library on it was the harbor of Amsterdam. It was in the 17th century a very important geographical space. A lot of these roads came there, and water roads. So when you look at this knot, it's like also like a center with many roads. So that was like more like a metaphor for the design and the concept, and also when making it, it looks very yeah, like calligraphy, and it suits very well also with because it's a library, and yeah, very abstract. But this was the concept behind the work. This university only teaches art in different fields, and they built a new building, it's the Kappa building, and what they believe there is that the heritage we have in the world, like about environmental problems or terrorism, etc., etc., we cannot solve them individually. So they invite people there. They have a room inside. It's like the conference room of the United Nations. They imitated that. People from different fields, but also politicians. Obama's going there to sit together and talking together and thinking, everybody from his own field, about how collectively, how can we build our opinion. And it's very interesting what they're doing there. And they asked us for this new building to make an art piece, and was the triptych we just finished in only indigo and white. It's about movement and direction, and what does it mean when you move horizontally, or when you have a pencil and you make a drawing from left to right, it gives you a different connotation than you do it from right to left. And if you're aware of these directions in generally, it's like opening up, yeah, to be open and be inspired, and creating open minds. Bennington was for me very important because it was one of the, yeah, I mean, wall tapestries are different than wall installation, because when the tapestry, I mean, the material needs really to move, to hang loose. And it's a different. It's different because people want to control everything. And when the tapestry goes, yeah, you have to accept that this is what it does. And people like to control, so they want to frame it or to. But I think it needs the space it needs. Yeah. The architect, that was the briefing, was what is Friesland, this area, how does it show? I mean, the people who should come to this museum, for him it was important that they feel this, the people or the space or the environment. And for me, since I'm working here, the earth is very important, the sky and the light. So this was my interpretation of the the question he asked me, what is Friesland, what does it mean for you? And it's also using the knotting technique to mark the horizon, because it's what you see here, it's like big horizon. And to give you an impression, it's 6 meters high and the length is, I think, 30 meters. We have, I think, also policy about soberness and doing it, what we do, as well as possible. And it's not very decadent around here. Also, we love working also in this small village, and we found a beautiful church in a small village, 15 kilometers. It's 12th century, really like the Rothko Chapel, and we're gonna rent it for 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. It's a monument, and because we feel now making the art pieces that it needs a space where, like a gallery. And yesterday I had a presentation for the village, so I had to reassure them that there was not a bus of tourists coming every week, because it's 200 people living in a small village. But it's a beautiful, beautiful church. So in that we are growing, but it's in a different scale, I think. All the plants you see here are dye plants. This is the color Rembrandt used a lot, and the root gives the red color, but it takes 3 years to grow, and then traditionally 2 years of drying. This is very, very Dutch. The Netherlands had in the 17th century they had a patent on this specific matter worldwide, because this red is so specific you cannot define it. When you see the girl with the red hat from Vermeer, this picture, this red, you cannot give it a name. It's so different. This garden was built 3 years ago, and then it was I won an award for applied art 3 years ago, and with the money of that award we had to invest it in the company. So we made this garden because it was like a field of grass first. And then it came out in the publicity, and a lot of botanical people, they contacted us, and they had a lot of knowledge about vegetation. So also a lot of people coming to us and wanted to share it with us. Yeah. This is a very firm quality, and it's the Drenthe Heath with silk. And first we dyed pieces. We made the piece and then dyed it in the pan and then out. But now we do only fibers. So this is really an old piece. I just wanted to show it because of the brightness of the color. And I think it's been 10 years now. It's very strong still in color. And when you dye, what Annette says, only in fibers, you get more differentiation. And it's also very complex. These big pieces, putting them, also physically, it's very, very heavy, but you have more control when you composition, when you dye the separate materials first. And when we built this garden, the first year we had a lot of insects, but also there were butterflies, three new butterflies coming back, and then we started the field, because when you have this, everybody can do this in his own garden. Everybody has a meter of space. This shadow it's a carded material. It directs you really to go where it goes. You have not really control over that one. For example, that's also what happens with the material. Sometimes with the felted skin or the skin from the sheep, it has its strong its own identity that it determines itself. So I follow it more and more. I think the work becomes more, not intuitive, but when we made the carpets 10 years ago, it was like we intellectually designed the carpet, and now the wool skin, they say how it looks like. In fact, it's different now. Yeah, it's part of the felt making process. Is putting in the layers of the silks in one direction in this case, and this is the alkanet root, and this is linen. And then later on there will be wool over it, and then by friction it attaches. So yeah, you see every fiber goes its own way, and it's very, felt is very naked. If you make a work and there is pressure or something else, you can really, it shows really in the work immediately. The people used to have sheep, and the shepherds in the winter time, they carded first the wool, start calming, and then they spun. You make this beautiful thin materials of it. We have a lot of rest materials, and then we threw them away, or they went to, I don't know, and I thought, can we do nothing? Can we do anything different with it? So last year we started with carding, and these beautiful materials came out of that. It feels wonderful being independent also, because we are, in a way we are totally independent from any industry, because I can make an artwork tomorrow and we can eat from the field. With the small community here, it feels also very important, because you can provide yourself, and this independency is for us very important. Also having our own gallery, and not because we are, because it gives you freedom, and also you're part of one. It's what we make is not out of context, and we also live like it, or it's. I do not take another role at 5 o'clock. This is really who we are. I think this is what you feel also in the work. Well, I had a studio in Amsterdam for many years, so we had to travel. So this was like, 1 hour also, and there was a space, because in Amsterdam we had a studio, but we could not have a production space there, and the sheep, etc., etc. So, in Friesland, the people are, from history, there are a lot of harbors, like Harlingen, and they were used to this coming in and out, and they are in a way, because of the sea, geographically, they were used. It's in their genes. They're used to people coming in and out, and they're very flexible, and it's wonderful when something's broken here. You call somebody, he's coming immediately, and it's been fixed. And it makes your work. It facilitates. It's also important, because when I worked in Amsterdam, it's complex because nobody has time, and now here, it's people have this reserve. They have something. They are not. They have something left.